Good morning, friends. Welcome back to Astrology Today. My name is Mel Rose, and I'm here to share today's aspects. First, I want to talk to you about some changes that I have made. First of all, if you are a regular watcher here, thank you so much for being with me on this journey. I truly appreciate your presence. You add value to my days, so thank you again. Starting a couple of days ago, you'll be able to see the strictly astrology portion of this episode right here on Astrology Today with Mel Rose. The tarot portion is moving over to a different channel, which will be called Astrology Today and Tarot with Mel Rose. The link is in the description. So if you want to see that additional portion of the Astrology Today that includes the intuitive work with the tarot cards, after you're done watching this one, pop on over there and see that one. This way, people can get more of what it is they're looking for from the episode. The content itself isn't going to change. You will see a little bit more of my smiling face, but otherwise the format's the same. Thank you for hearing me out. I appreciate you all for being here. Now let's go ahead and get into today's astrology. Today is Tuesday, May 31, 2022. The sun is in Gemini, and this is a time of year when we seek out the things that stimulate our minds. We want to learn something new. We want to have exchanges with others that are engaging, that inspire and motivate us. Especially right now, there's a lot going on astrologically that asks, what do you want to do? Now's the time to be having that discussion. Gemini's ruling planet, Mercury, is in retrograde through the end of this week, and this reminds us at this time to listen, to have the internal conversations we need to have, to ask questions. It also says that whatever we decide this week that we want to do, we may change our minds next week after Mercury goes direct again. This is why we don't sign contracts or otherwise commit ourselves while Mercury is retrograde. Sun in Gemini says, have the most stimulating, dreamy, expansive, or deep conversations you can have about what comes next. Mercury in retrograde says, wait to commit to a single course of action until all of the information has come in, probably sometime after Friday of this week. Our new moon has become a waxing crescent in Gemini all day today, making ingress to Cancer not long after midnight tonight. Waxing crescent moon in Gemini invites us to get engaged in the creative initiation of our hopes and dreams, specifically laying down our intentions for progress over the next 2 weeks so that we can have a culmination to celebrate with the full moon on the 14th. And if our minds change after this week with the Mercury shift, it's okay. There's always time to revise the plan as we act in the direction of those full moon culminations. I'm going to get right into the aspects, but first I'll point out the handcrafted key on the right-hand side of the page. Most of the symbols on the page have made it into the key, so if you desire a point of reference, it's right over here. I've otherwise divided the page into 2 columns, one for each of our luminaries. The moon is the luminary that sheds light on our inner lives. This is your relationship with yourself, what it feels like for you to be in your body, heart, and mind, and in your home. The transits and aspects the moon makes are all very brief, and they have a subtle impact on those things you think, feel, know, and intuit, but may choose whether to express. The sun is the luminary that sheds light on our outer lives. This is the outward expression of yourself in the world, especially in your work, social, and civic spaces. I address the sun and the rest of the planet's movements over here because these have a greater effect on that outward expression. We have 3 fresh aspects today. They're all on the moon's side. Starting at 3:10 this morning, Central Standard Time, friends. Moon goes square to Neptune. Cancer and Pisces will probably feel these vibes. Some challenge may arise concerning our perception of what is going on at home or with a loved one. Also at 3:10, same exact moment, a void of course moon here goes trine to Saturn. Cancer, Capricorn, and Aquarius here. It seems like just a couple days ago, the roles were reversed and we had a challenging aspect with Saturn and a favorable aspect with Neptune. Moon trine Saturn tells us that if we do what we know will work, things will go splendidly. So taking these two together, I can see how we might feel that something is off or unfamiliar in the vibe, especially in the heart, in our relationships with others, or in the home. But if we maintain reliable behavior, our outcome will be positive, perhaps even ideal. The void of course period today is 9.5 hours, and it takes us through midnight. That's a large space of time when we have the advantage in our intuitive and creative practices. Rituals for creativity and increase are appropriate at this time. Meditation and journaling, as well as discussions about what we hope to create for ourselves, will be to our benefit. Finally, early Wednesday morning at 12:49, Moon makes ingress to Cancer. Waxing crescent moon in Cancer is a fertile time. Cancer stabilizes water. It also rules the moon, so this heart and home vibe is sort of redoubled. And water is our element for emotion, intuition, and fertility. We can probably gain a solid sense of attachment to the intentions and goals we're developing. And while the sun is in Gemini, we can share those feelings to inspire those around us. On the sun side, and I want to say that's a 2.5 day transit. On the sun side, in the ongoing column, Sun sextile Mars will remain in aspect through June 4. We have a very clear, conscious idea what moves we need to make, what goals we have to conquer. We're very conscious of our intentions and the actions that we have on our plates to make. We have the clear-eyed initiative to make a start and the determination to follow through. So that's great news. Today is the final day. This is through June 4th. Today is the final day for Mars conjunct to Jupiter. This aspect basically spanned the new moon, adding a sense of expanded possibilities with each action we have taken. So Jupiter and Mars are both in Aries at this time, and they're kind of overlapped in the sky when they're conjunct, or they're right next to each other if you could see them. And if you put into a browser bar, how can I see Mars conjunct Jupiter, you might actually be able to get your eyes on them. They're both visible planets. This aspect basically, since these two are in Aries, Jupiter expands everything it touches. When Mars in Aries makes us strong, Jupiter makes us stronger. When Mars in Aries helps us know when and how to initiate something or to move forward, Jupiter makes us even more savvy and direct. And when Mars in Aries gives us confidence, Jupiter expands that confidence. So you kind of get the idea. Whatever Mars is doing for us, Jupiter is there to just brighten that effect, make it more intense for us. I hope you've taken advantage of these boosts and put your energy toward the places where you want to see the abundance come in. Mercury is retrograde through June 3. Retrograde, of course, is an illusion created by our perspective, the geocentric perspective, which is to say we're on a planet in orbit around the sun, watching other planets in orbit around the sun. Excuse me. Oh, the allergies are getting me. So while Mercury continues forward on its course around the sun, While Mercury continues forward on its course around the sun at all times, sometimes it appears from our perspective to slow down, pause, and then move in the other direction. And we call this retrograde, but it's really just based on our perspective. Perception has power. The fact that we perceive our planet for thoughts, plans, and communications to be moving backward along its regular trajectory does something to the way we approach these things. We may notice a slowdown in terms of our ability to communicate, a desire to give more attention to the details or to go back over the plans. Or if we don't notice the slowdown, we may have found ourselves rushing headlong into some obstacles. However Mercury retrograde works for you, think of it as another opportunity to give yourself and others a little grace as we navigate the change in pace and perhaps some extra demands on our attention. Mercury is going to go direct on Friday, so at this point, Mercury this week is pretty much staying in the same place. It's slowed its roll backward. It's going to remain stationary for a little while in the same place before it starts to go direct again. So these Mercury retrograde issues that are coming up, they've probably, sort of also slowed us down a little bit and brought us to a place where we are pausing before we can move forward again. Mercury trine Pluto here continues to bless us with positive vibes and rich insights through the 19th of June. Both of these planets are retrograde. So as I see it, there's an as above, so below quality to the work that's coming up here. Deep and total changes are afoot in the inner life as well as the outer life. Mercury trine Pluto also gives us a certain amount of foresight regarding the bigger changes that are coming up for us. And this empowers us to be ready so that we can step confidently into this transformation, trusting that we're becoming more real and whole versions of ourselves as we release what no longer serves and embrace what inspires and uplifts. Venus is square to Pluto here through June 1. That's just tomorrow. Thank goodness, that's almost over. And I've seen this as the sort of if-then consequence of, when people or things don't show up for us in the supportive way that we've reached out for or hoped that they would. To seek reassurance and find it lacking is likely to bring up some of the more petty and insecure emotions that belie a deeper insecurity concerning how worthy we are or how worthy we are deemed to be by ourselves and others. The guidance here is to try to give ourselves and others the support and reassurance we sought and didn't find. The challenge is not to act out that self-doubt in some distracting and unproductive way that we will probably regret. Let's give ourselves and others the grace to give only what we have to give in terms of each of our many connections. Pluto is retrograde also through October 8. Pluto is retrograde for about 6 months out of the year, and the retrograde period turns those transformative evolutionary vibes toward our insides, transforming the parts of ourselves that are sometimes unexpressed. Or if they're expressed, it's through the shadow, which is to say we express them unconsciously. Or if we are conscious of their expression, it's because that expression feels compulsive, like we couldn't help but to act out in some way. The astrology of the moment has been inviting us to become aware of our own hidden mental processes by which the unconscious is expressed, and being aware to begin to see the way to transform both our fears and insecurities and how we respond to them. This is a time when things that don't work in our private lives obviously will be painfully obvious, like the insecurity that's coming up over here with Venus square Pluto, or Venus square Pluto right here, exposing our own insecurities and petty behaviors and that of others. It's a time to be gentle with ourselves, but also to do the work of transformation, okay? Which means waking up to ourselves and the stuff we're doing that isn't working so that we can evolve that way of being into something that pulls us toward the better, more expanded version of ourselves we'd like to see. This Friday, Mercury goes direct again, meaning we can begin again to see clearly the path forward and to communicate with clarity and relative ease. On Saturday, appropriately, Saturn will go retrograde. Saturn retrograde is a time when things are going to slow down for us, asking us to make sure our approach to maintaining our responsibilities is sound. Also, for those of us struggling with depression or social anxiety, something may come along to shake us up and ask us to take a look at our behavior, asking whether it's really working for us. Interesting times ahead for the next 4.5 months, friends. And then coming up on Tuesday, the 7th of June, we have that first quarter moon in Virgo. This will be the time when we switch from laying intentions and making plans to putting those plans into action. And that'll be a few days after Mercury goes direct again. So really time for new information to come to light, right? So that we can adjust our plans as we begin to act on them. Okay, friends, that's it for today's astrology. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please like my video, subscribe, and click the notifications bell. I post here every day, and I wouldn't want you to miss a thing. And friends, I appreciate it so much when you comment to ask questions or provide encouragement. It isn't just gratifying for me to know that you're listening. It lets YouTube know that you're engaged in the content, and that is super helpful, so thank you very much. Also, if you know anyone for whom this guidance may resonate, I encourage you to share. If you want to see the astrology and tarot portion of today's aspects, join me over on Astrology Today and Tarot with Melrose. The link is in the description. There we'll discuss the tarot card that sits on the side of the page, quickly run down the day's astrology, and then throw a card that speaks to the day's energies. Again, thank you for being here today. My love and gratitude go out to you all, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for more Astrology Today.